Namaskaram everyone. Welcome back to the 61st episode of Master Unreal series, and in this episode we are going to work on our interaction manager, which we have already built successfully with 4 different use cases. One is opening the door, kicking the door, sitting on the bench, pushing the cabinet, and the multi-tap system where you support like unlocking the door then opening it like that. So in this one, we are going to take our entire logic into the gameplay ability in such a way that our interaction code supports both player and AI. AI means the NPCs or your enemies or your boss or allies, whatever you have in your game. So the basic way to understand is that you press E to interact with the interactables, but AI characters do not have the input action. So we are going to work on that part specifically, and I'm going to show you how you can move this entire thing into a gameplay ability which can be used by your AI characters, which is the ultimate goal of building the smart AI enemy. Okay, so if you haven't seen our interaction system episodes, I highly recommend you check that out because I have explained everything in a great detail, how an interaction system is built, how you build different kind of interactions, and how you make your logic. And in this one we are going to optimize it completely. So without wasting any time, let's get started. All right, so let's have a look on the interaction system that we have built so far, which is dependent on 3 major components. First is your player, second is your interaction manager, which is the actor component, and then there is a gameplay ability which we are using so that in the later stages we can make it multiplayer friendly. So if I open this up and let's go with the flow, this is the input action, and let me open the mappings and IA action. So you can see I've reserved E key and the trigger is pulse. Pulse means after every set of interval it will fire. So it will start from 0, then it will trigger the pin after 0.2 seconds, then after 0.2 seconds again. So this goes like this: 0, 0.2, 0.4, 0.6, like that. It will call this triggered. So if you have pressed for the first time, that is considered as a tap. If you hold the key, then the triggered will be fired after 0.2 seconds and it will go periodically. But if you release your key, then it's done. Okay, and then if you press again, then again it is considered as a tap. And if you go to interaction manager, we have implemented a multi-tap system so that you can have as many taps you want for your interaction purposes. Now there is one more thing: AI does not have input actions. It has to be controlled via state tree or behavior tree, which means you will not have the input action of this sort. You will have to manage the pulse manually. So for this, what we are going to do, we are going to move this entire setup into gameplay ability so that it is modular enough for AI and for your player. So the first thing we are going to do is bind this gameplay ability with the input action. Okay, so let's see how we can do that. If you go to interaction manager, in the event begin play, you are granting this ability to the character. So instead of doing it in the manager, we will do it in our character default, because we assume that every particular character in our game can interact with anything. So let's have a look. I will add one pin in the event begin play. This is my base class for every character. You can see character default, then it goes player, and then we have AI classes like AI default. From there you have your sword soldier. So we'll add in the parent so that it gets inherited. I'll say give ability, and this is the ability system component we built. So there is something called as input ID. Now you can provide a number and you make sure you use that only once. So let's say I call it 5. So if I pass input ID 5 to ability system, it will execute this ability. Okay, so I'll show you, but let's first save and let's go back to our player. And now here, instead of calling hold or tap, what we can do is we will say press input ID. Okay, if you select it, now you can see you can pass the input ID here. So you can say 5. All right, and this will send an event to the ability that this key was pressed. Now for player, it's the input action, and for your AI, it can be your state tree. Doesn't matter. The core point to understand is that we sent an event that this input ID was pressed. Okay, so what we will do, we will go back to character default and I'll promote this to a variable so that we can change it if we want. And I will say interact input ID. And I will put compile and I'll say 5 here. Now we go back to player, and instead of manually writing, we will use that variable. So get interact input ID and connect it like this. So now we do not need to do this. So now you are directly communicating with the ability. You are not going through the middleware, which is your inventory manager. Now you talk to the ability directly with the ability system component. And actually now let's remove this triggered because we don't need it anymore. I'll tell you in a minute, but let's delete this as well. For a while, keep this one on. So this is how we start. First we press and it will send a signal to gameplay ability. So we'll go to gameplay ability, we'll go in class defaults. And as you can see, when this ability will be active, you will get interacting tag on the character. Now there is a small change in the instancing policy. We say that now you should not recreate the gameplay ability every time we press. Now we are going to say instance per actor. That means a gameplay ability will be launched once and you will reuse it every time you want to interact with any interactable. So let's select this. Earlier what was happening, every time you interact with something, it will create a new instance of the ability. Now that is little extra. Instead, what we are going to say now that you only instantiate the ability once and then reuse it. So we will go for this one. So I wanted to show you both. That's the primary reason why I started with the execution. Now we are going to go for an optimized solution, which is using per actor. Okay. So every actor will get this ability and it will be activated once and then you will keep using it again and again. Now let's have a look at the another situation in case of multi-tap and hold E, right? So we go first. First you get the owner, then you call the trace interactables. If we go to player, you have trace interactables here. So this gives you the result. Okay, what is it that is in front of me? Then if it is valid and you see some interactable in front of you, then we check if it is available for interaction. If it is, then you save it. Then you construct the interaction object so that you can pass the tap count. So every time you press E, you were passing the tap count. And when you were holding the E, you used to pass elapsed seconds. So if I go to interaction manager, you can see like in the try interact, you call this function, you check the tag, you increment the tap count, and you were sending the elapsed seconds and how many counts have been done so far. And then you make the gameplay event data and then you used to send. So this is a little extra. Now let's see how you can optimize it. How? Using wait input press. You go to BP player. Whenever you will call this press input ID, this event will be fired. So now as soon as you press it, you will receive the event here and you will increase the tap count. So now the player does not have to talk to your interaction manager. It will talk with the ability directly. It will press, it will receive. So we are going to create our own variable for this moment of interaction, and I will say tap count and I will set it to integer. Okay, let me check if we are using this somewhere. Yeah, it's okay. You can change it to integer. Great. So now you will receive the tap counts right here. So what I can do, I can cut this. And this is where you are waiting for the tap events. Now you will not use this wait. Instead, you will use wait input press. So as soon as it is pressed, you will call the tap event. So I'll remove this and you will remove this as well. Connect it with this. Okay, but let's say if you did not press on time, if the time is gone, then in that case you would like to cancel this waiting node, because see, it is continuously waiting and your ability will be active as well. Although the interaction is over, the ability will still be on so that you can reuse it. And when that ability is on, this is waiting for the press, and we do not want that, because once the interaction is over, this session is closed. So to close it, we will promote this to variable, the async task, and I'll say tap wait. Okay. So in case if you do not press on time, then we will cancel this. I'll tell you how you can do that. So as soon as you press, you go to tap, which is right here. Now you don't need to do this casting. You can directly call the interact. So let's remove it. I hope now it's making sense and you understand how we optimize the solutions in the game. So we pass the tap count right here. But first we have to increment. So what I'll do, I'll get the tap count and I will do increment. That will add 1 into it. And actually you can directly pass it. And you do not need to do any tracking now. So you can remove this as well. We still need the interactable, whose interact function we are calling, and the player who is interacting, or the character who is interacting. So I'll do hit actor as a target, and I'll get my owner who is going to interact in the instigator. See how simple it is now. Great. Now, if you press the tap, then this will not wait again. So you have to make it wait again when you press the tap. You pressed for the first time, it came here and it started waiting for the second tap. You did second tap and it called it, and now you should be waiting for the third tap again. If you have implemented it's fine, if not, that's also fine. But you have to wait for the third tap. So the way to do it, you just reconnect this pin here. So as long as you keep pressing the key, it will keep resetting so that it can keep track of the counts. So this is your multi-tap now. Very simple. What you can do is put a box, comment, and tap. Great. So now it is simplified. Now let's have a look at the hold. So how do we determine whether the character has a hold tap functionality? Is by checking the get hold time. And if it is implemented, then you used to wait for this hold event. So how we are going to work it out? We are going to use something called as task wait delay. Here, we are going to wait for this required time. So let's say if you want to sit on bench and you want to press and hold for 0.5 seconds, then we will plug this time right here. And I will remove this, I'll remove this, and I'll put it here. Again, if you have not seen the interaction system episodes, I highly recommend, because I have explained everything in a very great detail. I'm just showing you how you optimize now, because no one comes up with the optimized solution in one go without having a practical hands-on experience. So now what we are going to do, if it implemented hold, we are going to check. If yes, then we are going to wait for this time. As soon as this time is passed, we will call the hold functionality. So we will connect on finish with the hold. But now let's say you did not hold the E key for that period and you released early. Let's say you had to press for 0.5 seconds, but you released it in the first 0.2 seconds. Then in that case, we have to cancel this node so that the hold does not get executed. So what I'm going to do here is that right after I have executed this wait delay, I will go for wait input release. So as soon as you fire the release event, this particular node will check if there was a hold waiting. If there was, it will cancel it. So if you release, then let's create a custom event and we will call this on input release. Let's call it right here. And now in this event, we will cancel this node. So let's promote it to variable so that we can cancel it later if you release the key before time. And I'll rename this to hold wait. So let's go and check whether the hold wait is valid. If it is valid, then we will say end task. That means we do not want to continue, just end it because they have released the key. Okay, so we will save it, and now we do not need to keep a tracker that will constantly check every 0.2 seconds or 2 seconds. Hey, have you released any key or not? So now you can see in the player you were calling the action key released when it was cancelled and completed, and then you used to call this interactable that hey, we have released the key. When was it useful? When you were pushing the box and then you release your e key, then you used to stop pushing the box. So that was the use case we did. So now what you are going to do is delete this, and you will say release input id from the ability system, and the ability input id is this. Great. So now you can delete this as well. So now we go back to the interactability. This node will be fired and this event will be called. Now you are canceling the task, but you also have to notify the interactable that we have released the key so that it can stop whatever it is doing. So I'll add a sequence node and I'll get the hit actor and I'll say on action key released, and we will notify the interactable, and we need the owner. So let's pass it to instigator. So this one is for notifying the interactable that we have released the key, and this one is ending the hold wait task. Okay, so these are the two things that we are doing. Great. Now you do not need these trackers. So remove this tracker because you were checking constantly, hey, if you are pressing the key or not. So just delete this. Great. It's now simplified a lot. Now you can wrap this in the hold box. Great. And then if you are done interacting, let's say if you get an event from the interactable that hey, interaction is done, then we used to end the ability. So I will just connect it with the end ability. So this is interaction completed, or let's just say ended. That's much better term because it covers both interruption and the completion. So now you no longer need this gameplay event data and constructing this object. It's no longer needed. You can see your graph is much simplified now. So this is the tap logic. So I'll say tap logic. And this one was the hold. Now you no longer need to check if you have reached the threshold or not. Why? Because your task will only fire once you have crossed this time period. Then only the hold will be called. So you no longer need to do this. I will remove this completely. And I'll go for hit actor, that is your interactable. Let's rename it interactable just to avoid confusion. And this is your owner. So you connect it with this. And we go for a comment again, and we'll say this is your whole logic. Okay, so let's test it out. I'll go to my level 1, and from the architecture, I will get the single door with lock and the cabinet so that we can test the push functionality, and we need the bench, that is your hold E and release. Let's play and try the E key first. This is a single tap. The interaction is over. Press E again and it is kicking the door. Instead, it should have opened the door. That is happening because when the ability ended, when the interaction was over, you did not reset the tap count. So we have to reset the tap count, and we'll also make sure that these waits are removed or cancelled. So we'll check if it's valid just to be on safe side. And we will say end task. Okay, so now if we try again, I go to my door. This is single tap. It opens. Interaction is over. Now if I press 1, it opens the door. This is single tap. Now let's try double tap. So 1, 2. Okay, it kicks. If you try single tap, then it opens the door as usual. Great. So next we try tap and hold. So I tap and hold. If I release, it release. Okay, let's go and try tap and hold. Now I release my key and it's sitting on the cabinet. Now if I press W, it gets up. So we have successfully migrated the entire logic in the gameplay ability. Right. So we save all and now we can go to interaction manager and we do not need this action key released because we are directly handling that in the gameplay ability. So I delete this and we are not required to reset the count. So we delete this. When the interaction is over, we have to send that event. So we will go to character default because if you see our door use case, let's open the base class. As soon as you press E and your player is ready, it plays the animation. Okay, once the animation is over, it fires the on interaction over. Right, so on interaction over calls the player that the interaction is over, and that is implemented in the character default because it is supposed to be inherited. So you can see you are calling this here. So now we will no longer use this interaction manager. So there is no need to call it. You can delete it. Okay. And you can send the gameplay event to actor and you will say the interaction is over. Why this? Because you see there is a node waiting for the interaction to end. So that has to be notified by the interactable. So the interactable will send this to character and the character will send it to gameplay ability. Great. So once you are done, you reset and send the event. So this is how your ability ends. Save all. Now we can delete this highlighting part. So at this moment in my game, I do not want the highlight. So I'll skip this part, but for those who want it, I think you are now very much capable to move this logic to the right place. If you find it difficult, feel free to reach out on Discord. We keep this code as it is. The only thing we are going to do is remove this interaction manager from the players. So we'll go to the default class and we assumed that every character AI NPC will be derived from here. So if we delete this manager here, everyone will lose this component because now we are using the gameplay ability to its fullest. So let's delete it. Remember, we just deleted the component, not the file. It's still there if you want to plug it back in. Okay, and now we go to player as well. You can see, let's resolve the errors, the red errors. We are no longer going to process the hit at this moment. We'll do that in the later stage and we will save all. Let's also check out our AI class. Great. And our SWAT soldier, which is a AI character. Okay, so everything is good except the third person character. It's our backup. So I think you can remove it. It's okay. You can delete whatever the red errors are because we have left this way behind. We are no longer using this. This was our backup when we were migrating to a stable structure. So now you can play and everything is working as it's supposed to be. All right. Great. So in the next episode, I will go back to our inventory so that we can have the pickup thing in the picture. And I'll also show you how you can inherit the interfaces. I'm leaving with a spoiler here. If you go to your bench, you see it has all the interactable events. Let me open the blueprints and in the BLIs, interactable. So anything, if it wants to become interactable, it has to implement this interface. That means there has to be interact, get hold time, hold interact, on interact. So these are the events which are the basic pillar of the interaction. Okay, when is the interaction over, what to do when it is interrupted, what to do when the key is released, what to do when the player is ready to interact. So these are the basic events. But here's a catch. Let's say if it's a pickup, it is also interactable. The mode of interaction is picking the item and adding it to inventory. And there we have nothing to do with the hold, we have nothing to do with the on interaction over or interrupted, or whether the key is released or not. We do not care. It's just simple pickup. You press E and the ability should pick the item and add it to your inventory. So in that case, all these 10 or 11 events does not make sense, and you cannot inherit an interface from interface. If you right click and if you try to create a child, let's say BLI child, okay, and if you open it, it's not an interface now, it's a blueprint. If you try to add it, like let's say if I go to bench, class settings, in the implemented interface, you will search for child. See, there is no interface. So that is a limitation of blueprints, that you cannot inherit an interface from an existing interface. So this is something I'll show you in the next video, and we will make our interaction system more modular so that based on what type of interaction your interactable supports, you add only those events from the interface. Let's say if it's your door, it has nothing to do with the hold interact, right? So we will see how you can make it more modular, which will help you in long run to create different type of interactions based on your own requirement. Okay, so that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Do let me know in the comments if you have any doubts, suggestions, feedback. And if you like my work and you want to support me, the Patreon and the Coffee link is in the description. We have both a membership option and one-time donation. You can choose whatever you like. And in the next episode, we will go back to our inventory where we left, and we will continue our journey. And the next target is to get the pickup functionality using gameplay ability so that you can do multiplayer in the later stages. Okay, so see you in the next episode. Take care. Bye bye.